Le scuole dovrebbero essere le ultime.
The tragedy of Afghanistan's malnourished children.
Selon l'UNICEF, les enfants manquent.
Wir wollen nach Hause, aber wir fürchten um unsere Sicherheit. Hoffnung hinter den Schlangen.
Somalia's worst drought in 4 decades means millions need
Wir
help.
beten für Regen. Äthiopien sieht sich eine
Ett liv i isolering för syriska flyktingar i Jordanens
NGOs condemn rescue gap as 10 migrants
Ett
die
liv
on
i isolering.
Behind the devastating headlines, the multiplying global crises, and overarching system failure, agents of hope work in the background. They are IRC volunteers, clients, staff, and partners. They go above and beyond to serve their communities.
In Afghanistan, an IRC volunteer goes door to door to prevent child malnutrition.
They inspire hope as they persevere and rebuild their lives.
Displaced after the 2010 earthquake in Haiti, Jean-Michel embarks on a new life in Mexico.
They empower communities working together to solve global problems.
In Somalia, access to clean water saves lives.
They show up in times of crisis with experience and leadership.
The world unites to show kindness to refugees from Ukraine.
When the headlines fade and the world turns away, we remain, serving more than 31 million people in 40 countries. This is where we find hope, in our volunteers, in our clients, in our staff, in our partners. They are the hope behind the headlines.
Hello and welcome to the IRC's 2022 Global Virtual Event. I'm David Miliband, President and CEO of the International Rescue Committee. Whether you're an old friend or new supporter, thank you for joining us. Today, you'll meet members of the IRC community leading some remarkable humanitarian efforts and initiatives. And you will join staff members, partners and supporters from all over the world. This year's event is titled Hope Behind the Headlines. When crisis strikes, whether conflict, natural disaster or climate change, the IRC is committed to be there to provide immediate support and longer-term assistance. Today, we're going to take you to see our work in Afghanistan, Mexico, Syria, Somalia and Ukraine, and to witness tales of resilience, courage and bold action through the eyes of IRC clients and staff. All of them embody the essence of hope. We'll also hear from dedicated IRC partners, including Yo-Yo Ma, Mandy Patinkin and Rami Malik, and enjoy powerful performances by Yola and by the Pacintu Refugee Chorus from Portland, Maine. Our aim today is to fill you with a sense of hope and to inspire action to make a lasting impact with communities around the world. Let's first listen to a special message and performance from friend of the IRC and Grammy-nominated artist Yola.
Welcome, friends from all over the world. My name is Yola. We have joined together here to find hope, to celebrate, and to be inspired by the stories of those who work to ease suffering around the world. I've faced hardships in my life as well, including experiencing prejudice in the music industry and throughout my life. I now, however, play the inventor of rock and roll, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, in the new Elvis movie, and released an album called Stand For Myself that is genre fluid, moving across sonic spaces, including symphonic soul, rock, and classic pop. So today, I'm glad to lend my voice to those who have had to face extreme hardship and to those who stand by their side and help them push on. Thank you for being here. I will now perform the title track, Stand For Myself. 2, 3, and... I understand why you close your eyes, why you deaf your ears. Oh, I realize now you wanna feel nothing. the shadows, no view from above. Now I'm alive, it's hard to explain. It took this much time, it took this much pain. You can get here if you're willing. Let go of yourself for you. Beginning, it was easier to sing than stand for myself. It was easier to give in than stand for myself. I know why you hide away, why you keep so quiet and mind what you say now. You think you're too much, too hard to handle, but you're stronger than anyone, yet still so fragile. It was easier to sing than stand for myself. It was easier to give in than stand for myself. It was hard enough to go and live on. I was so tired trying to belong. I was lost in the city, you could see it in my eyes, but I was still a dreamer in the middle of the night. I'm alive, alive, I'm alive. I used to be nothing like you, I used to feel nothing like you. Now I'm alive, alive, I'm alive. I used to be nothing like you, I used to feel nothing like you. Now I'm alive, alive, I'm alive. I used to be nothing like you, I used to feel nothing like you. Now I'm alive, alive, I'm alive. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, cuckoo, 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 cuckoo.
Thank you, Yola, for that powerful performance and call for new beginnings. Now, we're going to dive into the story of Nazo, an IRC community health worker from Afghanistan, a country that just last week was hit with a devastating earthquake.
Since the government takeover, Afghanistan has been experiencing an unprecedented economic shock, meaning families can't afford the food they need to survive. Unless people are able to access food, the cycle of malnutrition cannot be broken, and the population faces the very real risk of famine. The IRC is scaling up its nutrition work in Kabul, launching mobile health teams focused on nutrition.
جوش میدیم اون 4 گیلاس نشان داده بر ما 4 گیلاس باشه و شکمش پوندیدگی می داشته باشه و بعضشان لاغر می باشه روز به روز وزن خود.
One of IRC's trained community health volunteers is Nazo. Nazo goes door to door to visit mothers within her community. She educates them about how to prevent their children from becoming malnourished and from contracting other diseases.
ما برای سروی از این خانه از وضعیت از اینا معلومات بگیریم. ما این برشان همه پوسترها را برشان توضیح میکنیم درباره حفظ صحت محیط زیست و پاکاری نظافت و انتقال امراض و گپا. بسیار باش تصمیم بیا. دارا پرسان میکنیم میبینیم که اگر طفلاشان مصاب سوی تغذیه باشن ما برشان میگیم دعوت میدیم که با اینا چه قسم کنن که این از مرض نجات بیافن. و اگر مثلا در خانهشان مریض می باشن یا سوی تغذیه می باشه یا فلج می باشه یا معیوب می باشه اینا را به دکترها مراجعه کنیم یا به خودشان بگوییم که اینا خودشان تداوی خانگی را انجام بدن. هدف ما از این کاری است که ما میخوایم که امی به جامعه خود خدمت و هدف ما امی است.
Hear now from IRC staff member Adnan Junaid on what gives him hope in this work.
In my role as IRC's Regional Vice President for Asia, I oversee operations in multiple countries across the region, from Myanmar to Afghanistan, the refugees in Thailand, and the refugees in Pakistan. And I support our frontline staff in delivering critical aid and life-saving services to millions of individuals in need affected by the worst crises. What gives me hope in my work is knowing that I'm directly helping our clients feel safe and secure, and to have them greater control over their lives.
Next up, we're going to hear one of those client stories. Earlier this month, the extraordinary cellist and friend of the IRC, Yo-Yo Ma, met with Zarlasht and Shirzad, two IRC clients who recently emigrated to the United States from Afghanistan.
Shirzad, Zarlasht, I'm so happy to see you. Thank you so much for agreeing to speak with me. I am very touched that to have an honor to have the opportunity to speak with you, to find out a little bit about how your life is going. Just to start off, I want to say to you that I'm an immigrant. I came to this country when I was 7 years old, 59 years ago. And it seems like forever, but I have to admit that the immigrant part of me never leaves me. And so my parents came from China. I was born in France. And to this day, even though I'm a proud American citizen, but there's part of me that always is thinking about what is happening somewhere else. And so I want to start with you, Zarlasht, and ask you, during every day, how much of you feels torn apart? You're obviously very present in your life, but how much of you is thinking somewhere else?
Yeah, it's so hard because I feel it. Physically I'm here, but mentally I'm somewhere else. Mentally I'm in Afghanistan with my family. But nowadays it's good because I get habit. I find something to busy myself with. We get familiar to some Afghan families here. We got to know them, talk with them every day, and nowadays it is good.
There must be moments, and I remember those moments, where you feel all the pressure, you feel darkness. Where do you find hope?
First of all, when I wake up in the morning and I breathe, I see myself safe. I feel alive. That gives me a hope. And the next thing, when I see people, when I see helping hands around the world, not only in the United States, like those helping hands who really want to help the needy, when I see them, there are still people around the world who help refugees, who help people in need. So these two things, they give me hope.
By being a member of the International Rescue Committee, you are within a family of people that are obviously reaching out at all times, not just, as you said, from one place, but from every other place. Does that give you energy?
Yeah, of course, yeah. It gives me goosebumps. It gives me energy. I feel like I can understand the refugees more than anyone else, because like few days before joining IRC, I was on the other side. For me, it's a kind of service. You serve people. So it's not a job, but for me, it's a service. I feel proud while I serve refugees.
But I am so impressed talking with the two of you. I mean, I know you hold much more inside than a short conversation can reveal, but I feel that in you. But I admire your spirit and your strength and your sense of hope. It's amazing.
Every year since 1957, the International Rescue Committee has bestowed a Freedom Award in recognition of extraordinary contributions to the cause of refugees and human freedom. This year, the Freedom Award honors SAMS, the Syrian American Medical Society. SAMS is a non-political, non-profit medical relief organization and a key local IRC partner. They work on the front lines of crisis relief in Syria and neighboring countries. The fortitude and optimism that the SAMS team has shown during a period of unprecedented conflict, displacement, and health crisis serves as an example of true humanitarian valor. It merits both recognition and applause. It's thanks to SAMS that families in even the remotest communities have access to medical care that is delivered with skill and compassion. Here's their story.
SAMS serves refugees, displaced populations, and underserved communities in Syria, neighboring countries, and beyond, working restlessly to deliver life-saving services, revitalize health systems, and promote medical education. Since 2011, SAMS has provided nearly 20 million medical services to 12 million beneficiaries, free of charge.
There were numerous attacks on our medical facilities, and at SAMS we call our medical professionals, our staff in Syria, we call them heroes, simply for going into work each day. We lost 42 staff altogether since 2015. We had doctors who were exposed to chemical attacks and refused to leave the operating room, refused to leave the patient, and succumbed to the attack. IRC has always been a friend of SAMS. I think of IRC as setting the standard for others that we need to achieve ourselves. And we have strengthened ourselves and become a better agency overall by our partnership with IRC.
My name is Amjad Das. I am a practicing internist in Ohio. I got involved in the Syrian American Medical Society when the conflict started in the later part of 2011. No matter what day you read the news about Syria, there's something really bad going on. Half of the population is displaced. Quarter of the population, that's half of those half, are refugees. But we focus on saving one life at a time. So each day we have 6,000 medical service provided. Each day we have 6,000 success stories, we hope. Yes, we want to work on the humanitarian front, but Syria is different for us. It's home. The victims' relatives, neighbors, their colleagues to us, classmates. So when we help them, we are helping ourselves. So we do these things with passion.
Most of the refugees have endured and or witnessed lots of violence and have endured lots of trauma and atrocities. We provide them with therapy and support in a secure and safe and confidential environment. And those services are client-centered, culturally sensitive. I just had yesterday women survivors of domestic violence. She has 4 children, 3 of them were imprisoned by the regime, and she had to leave Syria to come here in 2012 because she was worried that her youngest son will be also arrested. She lost her children, her house. She came here to a new environment. She was depressed. Her husband was beating her up. Finally, she decided to put an end to this. She came to SAMS. We provided her with support and therapy and all kinds of resources. What gives me hope is seeing the patients getting better, seeing kids are happy and going back to school, seeing the mothers laughing and joking and being productive.
Vast majority of Syrians inside and outside Syria are in desperate mental health situation. We can talk about a desperate situation for children out of schools, lost one of their parents or both of their parents, living in camps in Syria as a doctor or healthcare provider, and around all of that difficult situation, challenges, desperate need for everything, and you see your colleagues, relatives, friends suffering. For sure, our doctors and medical healthcare providers are suffering a lot related to their mental health. We hope a better future for our country, for our children, for our people and relatives.
SAMS devoted their mission to becoming a positive part of every Syrian and refugee's survival story. And even as things get more difficult, they continue to deliver incredible work. SAMS acts with hope, constantly and courageously, extending humanitarian aid.
So well deserved. The Freedom Award honoring SAMS, the Syrian American Medical Society. Now we move to Ukraine to see how the IRC and our partners are helping people impacted by the war.
When the crisis in Ukraine began on February 24, nobody knew what was going to happen or how long it was going to take. Families left their homes, intending and hoping to return after a few days, a few weeks at most. The majority of these were children, elderly people, and women like Anastasia. The IRC met Anastasia in March. She had just arrived in Poland and was deciding what to do next.
My name is Anastasia. I am 24 years old. We are here now in Poland with my mom and my little brother. It was a hard decision because my dad can't be with us here because men are not allowed to go abroad this time. But we decided to do it because no one knows what will happen today or tomorrow.
While millions of people fled Ukraine on foot, by car, and by train, the world rallied around Ukraine. The world felt compassion and empathy for families who had a home and then suddenly didn't. We saw musical tributes, coffee shops donating tips, and coat drives. Against the backdrop of war, we've seen grit, compassion, and kindness in the people who have fled Ukraine, in the countries who have embraced refugees, and in everyday people who heard about Ukraine's need and wanted to do something. Thanks to the generosity of supporters around the world, the IRC is on the ground in Poland, supporting local partners in their critical work, including providing emergency cash assistance, supplies, mental health services, and whatever our partners see that the community needs most. While continuing to invest in humanitarian relief services for people who have fled the crisis in Ukraine, we must share the stories that will ignite compassion in human hearts for all refugees, no matter where they come from. Amidst the ongoing crises all over the world, IRC ambassadors Lucas Englander and Ebony Obsidian share how IRC still gives them hope to move forward and make a difference.
Die Zusammenarbeit mit dem IRC gibt mir Hoffnung, weil ich langsam beginne zu verstehen, wie wichtig es ist, sich zu organisieren und wie wir dadurch ein Gefühl von öffentlicher Gemeinsamkeit erreichen können.
It's easy to fall into despair when being bombarded with the world's news every day. But what renews my hope, especially on the darkest days, is how many people are working so hard to combat these daily atrocities. How millions upon millions of my fellow humans have not lost hope. Partnering with the IRC has been an absolute dream. They've given me the tools to listen, learn, and act so that I may be of greatest assistance to immigrants and refugees not only in my family's country, but refugees and immigrants worldwide. Through their organized and efficient aid, I've learned where I fit in, and that I, as one person, absolutely make a difference. That's given me hope, but it's also driven me forward to be creative in the ways that I can continue to be of use.
Now, we'll go to Mexico and hear how IRC client Jean-Michel maintained hope during his harrowing journey from Haiti to Mexico as he pursued asylum across 10 different countries to find safety and a new life.
In 2010, an earthquake devastated Haiti, killing more than 350,000 people. Since then, organized crime, gang violence rates, natural disasters, and deteriorating economic conditions, exacerbated by the impacts of COVID-19, have forced people like Jean-Michel to flee. After spending a few years in Brazil, Jean-Michel made the treacherous journey to Mexico to find a new, safe place to rebuild his life.
Salgo de Brasil el 20 de octubre del 2021. Fue un camino muy difícil, porque tuve que cruzar 10 países para llegar hacia México. Entonces de Colombia me toca pasarme a Panamá, que es lo más peligroso que hay, porque cruzas por la selva del Darién, que ahí muchos mueren. Yo mismo tuve la oportunidad de ver muchos muertos. Llegué aquí a Tenosique el 21 de noviembre del 2021. Aquí México ofrece la seguridad que no tenemos en nuestro país. Fui, solicité mi refugio y me aprobaron mi refugio. Hice un curso de mantenimiento y reparación de aire acondicionado y recibí terapia de uno de los psicólogos de acá. Y fue una maravilla. Ya yo me sentía una persona diferente. La psicóloga Sandra nos dio un cursillo de cómo ir a solicitar empleo.
Since finishing his specialty course, Jan Michael feels confident in his future. He plans to move to a new city in Mexico, where he will begin his job search and apply his craft. IRC staff member Senka Filipovic and artist Fozia share what gives them hope every day.
What gives me hope is that on a daily basis, we are seeing new partners and individuals choose to stand alongside the IRC in our effort to help people facing humanitarian crises and send a joint message of refugees welcome now and always.
I find hope in the eyes of every young girl that I meet, and I find hope in the strength and the power of every refugee woman.
In a program dedicated to seeing hope behind the headlines, we have to talk about the fundamental source of so much hope, our children. Through a larger-than-life experience and through the healing power of music, two inspiring organizations are helping children who are displaced to see their place in the world.
In Arabic, Amal means hope. And little Amal is the 3.5-meter tall puppet of a 10-year-old Syrian refugee child at the heart of an epic journey called The Walk, produced by The Walk Productions. Amal represents millions of refugee children around the world whose lives have been shattered by conflict. She embodies the urgent message, "Don't forget about us." Through programs across 40 countries, the IRC supports refugee children like Amal who have hopes and dreams of a better life. Since July 2021, Amal has traveled over 8,000 kilometers across 11 countries to focus attention on the needs of young refugees. Her journey inspires us all to help young refugees like her find a more hopeful future.
Hi, my name is Natalia, and I am a proud member of PACENTU, our multinational immigrant and refugee girls chorus based in Portland, Maine, USA. Since our founding in 2005, more than 350 girls from over 30 countries have participated, and these countries include Iraq, South Sudan, Afghanistan, Kenya, Burundi, Angola, Honduras, Democratic Republic of Congo, Cambodia, Turkey, Russia, Burkina Faso, Rwanda, and Vietnam. We all have stories. Stories of war, stories of famine, stories of loss, and stories of hope and resilience. We are thrilled to be here with the IRC community to share a song with you.
Somewhere there's a place for me. Somewhere where I can be. Somewhere a place of peace and harmony. A place where everyone can be. Somewhere where we all can live together.
And now we're going to Somalia in East Africa, which is experiencing the worst drought in decades. The IRC has worked with local communities to improve access to safe, clean water. Let's take a look.
In 2022, East Africa experienced its worst drought in 40 years. 25 million people faced extreme hunger and water shortages. And in Somalia, one of the biggest problems people faced was the lack of a constant water source. Families spent large amounts of money every month to access clean water. Women and girls who collected water faced physical and sexual assault at water points. People of all ages risked their lives collecting dirty well water, and many people and animals died. In Godobayar, Arfuda do Ole, and Faratoyo, the IRC listened to the needs of each community for 3 days to determine their most basic necessities. And in cooperation with Building Resilient Communities in Somalia, the IRC improved access to adequate safe water by rehabilitating the borehole wells in each area. A borehole well is constructed by drilling a narrow hole deep into the ground. Its depth helps ensure a reliable supply of water in times of drought or high usage. These solar-powered borehole wells changed lives. They provide safe water for communities and their livestock, allowing the village to irrigate land and plant crops. The thousands of households in Godobayar, Arfuda do Ole, and Faratuyo are now more equipped to survive the dry season. Families have access to a sufficient quantity of safe water for drinking, cooking, and hygiene purposes, which means improved nutrition, health, and hope. IRC staff Harlem Desir shares how the IRC team gives him hope.
Ce qui me donne de l'espoir chaque jour, c'est l'extraordinaire dévouement de nos équipes pour venir en aide aussi bien aux réfugiés du camp de Kakuma, au Kenya, pour assurer leur accès à la santé, qu'aux personnes déplacées que j'ai rencontrées en République centrafricaine et qui ont été victimes de violences, ou aux réfugiés syriens qui sont dans le camp de Zatari, ou aux Ukrainiens qui sont aujourd'hui accueillis en Pologne. Ce qui me donne de l'espoir, c'est l'impact et l'efficacité de notre action.
When the headlines fade and the world turns away, IRC teams are committed to remain and make a difference. Day in and day out, the IRC stays in the world's toughest places, helping people whose lives are shattered by conflict and disaster to survive, recover, and rebuild their lives. As we wrap up today's event, I hope you'll take a moment to reflect on the ways that you can provide a sense of hope in someone else's life. Your gifts, your contributions, your support allow us to do the extraordinary things that you've seen today. Direct cash assistance, legal aid, mental health support, maternal health support, early childhood development, all this and more to clients in desperate need around the world. Thank you in advance for your continued generosity. And thank you too to our clients who inspire us every day, to our staff, my colleagues, who are an extraordinary source of strength every day, and to all of you for watching and showing up today and every day to support the IRC. And now, please join me in welcoming one of our inspiring IRC ambassadors, the one and only Rami Malek.
Oh, what an absolutely inspiring event. Thank you all so much for joining us to honor this tenacious group of IRC clients, staff, supporters, and more. This global virtual event is a powerful reminder of the International Rescue Committee's lasting impact on communities around the world. And thanks to your support, staff members have been able to transform lives in some of the most challenging regions, including Afghanistan, Mexico, Syria, Somalia, Ukraine. Every contribution makes a difference in helping those affected by conflict and crisis to recover and to rebuild. So thank you. The International Rescue Committee's tremendous efforts give me hope for a better tomorrow. So let's continue to work together to bring that same sense of hope to others all around the world.
Our event ends on a hopeful note with an intimate performance and inspiring words from world-famous cellist Yo-Yo Ma.
Wow. Yeah.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, sir.
Thank you so
It
much.
was wonderful.
I want to thank you and to thank everybody that is helping in this world where so many things are happening that need improvement. And I think it's you keep going for the light, and one day we can all celebrate together.